The purpose of this session is really just to give monitors an overview training of how SiteDocs Pay is being used by sites to support with the complete payment of investigator payments, whether that be administrative related or participant related items. So if I just go to settings, first of all, just to give you a brief overview of how the investigator payments is actually set up for a project. So if I just go into a project that was set up previously, there are three types of templates that we set up for sites. The first is relating to administrative items. The second is a milestone payment template. And then the second is a medical and travel invoiceable template. So these are all set up based on the access to contract, budget, and protocol, at least the schedule of assessments. So if I click into the administrative invoiceable template to start with, this is made up of three types of items. Every item within SiteDocs Pay relates to a line item in a contract. So these might be one-time payments, such as your startup fee. They might be periodic payments, such as your annual administration fee. And then there might be a third type of item that we refer to as ad hoc items. These may or may not happen depending on what's happening on a particular project. So that's the first type of template. The second type of template is what we refer to as milestone templates. And if I go into one of these, in this case, you can see there's an arm A, B, and C. And so this really depends on the makeup of the study design. If I click into one of these, let's say arm C, what we do is, as a general rule, we'll add in here a certain number of unscheduled visit items, and then you'll have a screening visit, for example, and then which is a milestone template, a milestone item, and then you'll have blended in amongst that any medical or travel items that are not made up of the total screening visit or the milestone visit. And so once that template is set up, the third type of template that needs to be added is basically a medical and travel template. It's a library whereby you can import individual items to a participant placeholder. So that's what's set up from the beginning. We work with sites to quickly set this up with those three documents in hand that I mentioned previously. So then it really comes down to what happens in SiteDocs Pay in the user interface for the sites, where they would click into the equivalent project. And when they're progressing items, whether they seek a monitor's support with verifying items, or whether they do this themselves, every item is one of two categories, really. One is either that they're either relating to a participant or they're relating to administrative items. So if I click into the patient-related zone to start with, let's say a new patient has been enrolled to the study. Let's call that participant 328. And they've got these extra fields that are free text fields that they can filter on as they need to, type of disease status, comments. But let's just leave that blank for now. So participant 328's been enrolled. And you can see there's no item associated with this yet, but if I click into that participant placeholder, what the sites will do is import one of those three templates that I mentioned before, which was the arm A, B, or C. I'll just import. This is what the site staff will do themselves. I'll just refresh that. They can also add documents in here at a participant level, which might be receipts for travel. They might be attachments that relating to approvals for travel, extra travel, email communication. So what they can do here is they can progress items down this progress bar either all the way through ready for invoicing or to the point of the monitor verifying. And so if there's, for example, an unscheduled visit, they can simply click on this, they can assess, they can make a note of which assessment was done at that visit, and that would adjust the pricing accordingly. They might have a screening visit, but let's say that one of the assessments wasn't done at that screening visit. So let's say an MRI abdomen pelvis was not done at the visit, and it would actually adjust it. These are just example items. They're not, you generally wouldn't have an MRI as a part of your screening visit. That would normally be an assessment that was done outside of the actual milestone total fee. But it's really just to illustrate that if there are a number of assessments that are completed at that milestone, you can go ahead and remove items as you need to. And so all they would simply do is select the assessments that were done. There's obviously then some conditional assessments, such as a pregnancy test, maybe a CT scan that was completed, and these will be added and progress down this continuum here. Now, the site staff themselves have the option to, I'm just going to apply the same date to all those items. But what they can do is complete an assessment or complete all of these assessments, or they can complete and verify. But let's say they wish for the monitor to support with the verification of those items, and then there's a clear audit trail of that approval as well, is that they can complete it. All of those 4 items are sitting there ready to be multi-selected and then verified by the monitor. So you can verify, or simply you can add a comment if you needed to. If there was one of those items that you disagreed with for whatever reason, then you could dismiss it and then simply add a comment as to why that is being dismissed. And that can be dismissed at that point, and it would be reverted back to the incomplete items list with your comment there. So once you agree with each of these items, you can verify them, and those 3 items in this case would be progressed ready for invoicing. Now, when the site staff create an invoice, they would not be doing it at an individual patient level, but they'd be doing it for on all patients listing. So that will give you a bit of an idea, at least, what you need to do when the sites have collaborated the project to you. And I'll show you how they would do that. They would select the project, go to collaboration. They would add yourself as a user. So let's say they want you to be collaborated to see the pricing, but also to verify the items. They would add you in this way. And then what that means is that you would be able to go in and just have access to not all of the steps, but you'll just have access to the verification step there to progress those items. Now, the same would then apply to not just the patient zone items, but also the administrative items. Now, in this case, there are no items, or there are actually 3 items sitting there ready for progression. So what they would do is progress these items across that progress bar. Let's say each of them happened at that same date. They would complete them. And then you would also have, as the monitor, have the rights there to access and progress or verify these items so that they're sitting there ready for their sites invoicing back to sponsor or CRO. So this is just a very brief overview showing you generally how they go about setting up a project in settings. This is something that generally TrialDocs will do on their behalf. Set the project up according to those 3 types of templates. Then in SiteDocs Pay itself, they're progressing items, whether they're patient related or administrative related items. And then as a monitor, all you would do is go into that participant as you do a verification then against also what data has been verified in the ECRF. and you can verify that these items did indeed occur, and then progress them as a bulk as you need to. So you're agreeing on those items, then verifying them, and then they're simply sitting there ready for invoicing by the site. So I hope that was a good overview for you. If you have any further questions, feel free to jump onto the help desk and reach out to us, or there are some specific help documents for SiteDocs Pay within the help function there as well. Thank you very much.